Hello again, 102. In this video, we will conclude the Clinton years, accomplishments, and setbacks during the second Clinton administration and what's going on in the 1996 presidential campaign. After clinching the Republican presidential nomination in 1996, Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole resigned his seat in order to devote his attention to defeating Bill Clinton. Clinton, however, maintained a large lead in the polls, in large part because, as we mentioned, he portrayed himself as a centrist, and he said, the era of big government is over. And Dole, he was 73 years old, and he was not a real media savvy, and he didn't speak as well as Clinton, and statements like that really won the popular vote for Clinton, and he wins his second term as president with a clear electoral majority, even though, again, he only has a minority of the popular vote because of the presence of H. Ross Perot once again, who got 8%, not as well as he did in 1992, and Dole only managed 41% of the popular vote. And now the new economy comes in the second Clinton administration. Bill Clinton's presidency benefited from a prolonged period of unprecedented prosperity. During his last 3 years in office, from 1998 through 2000, the federal government generated record budget surpluses. Where did that world go? At the end of the 20th century, what came to be called the new economy featured high-flying electronics, computer, software, telecommunications like cellular phones and cable TV and e-commerce, internet firms called dot-com companies. These dynamic new enterprises helped the economy set records in every area. Low inflation, low unemployment, and dizzying corporate profits and personal fortunes. People claim that the new high-tech economy defied the boom-bust cycles of the previous 100 years. Alan Greenspan, the Federal Reserve Board chairman, suggested that we have moved beyond history into an economy that only seemed to grow, and he would be proven wrong. And there's the Mac, floppy disk, all right, nice there. And this actually came out in 1994, the first real popular personal computers, because they were very easy to use, and anybody could use these computers. And this was a period of sustained economic prosperity during the 1990s. Marked by federal budget surpluses, the explosion of the dot-com industries, low inflation, and low unemployment. Again, new economy defined. And globalization is another major feature of the new economy. The end of the Cold War and disintegration of the Soviet Union opened many new opportunities for United States companies in international trade. In addition, the new globe-spanning communication technologies and massive new container-carrying ships and cargo jets shortened time and distance, enabling multinational companies to conduct a growing business abroad as more and more nations lowered trade barriers. This was an important and controversial transformation of the world economy, led by a growing number of multinational companies and the internet, whereby an international marketplace for goods and services was created. Bill Clinton accelerated the process of globalization. He believed the global economy is giving more of our own people, some of them, and billions around the world the chance to work and live and raise their families with dignity. And he especially welcomed the World Wide Web, which opened up the internet not just to an elite community of scientists, but to everyone, and by doing so, greatly accelerated the U.S. dominance of the international economy. And that's a key point to remember, ladies and gentlemen. There are going to be cultures that object to this. And by 2000, over a third of the production of United States multinational companies was occurring abroad, compared with only 9% in 1980. In 1970, there were 7,000 American multinational companies. By 2000, the number had soared to 63,000. Major implications for the United States gross domestic product. Outsourcing took place because of all of this. And there was also the positive feature of free trade, many foreign manufacturers actually set up shop within the United States. Japanese car manufacturers began to have factories building Japanese cars in places like Tennessee. And Mercedes-Benz and BMW also opened up some plants in the southern United States with non-union labor. What's the foreign policy in the 90s? Unlike his predecessor, George Herbert Walker Bush, Bill Clinton had little interest in global politics. Foreign policy is not what I came here to do, he admitted. The Middle East and the Arab-Israeli peace negotiations are ongoing still. And Clinton had some success here with the Middle East. It's cut off a little bit here. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestine Liberation Organization leader Yasser Arafat made a path-breaking peace accord between Israel and the Palestinians in September of 1993. And there were secret talks going on during that year between the Israelis and Palestinian representatives. And this is sometimes called the Oslo Accords, because it was an agreement between Israel and the PLO that provided for the restoration of Palestinian self-rule in the occupied Gaza Strip and on the West Bank. This is sometimes called land for peace. This was an exchange as provided in the United Nations Security Council resolutions coming out of these talks. And this was a real feather in Bill Clinton's cap. And the Mideast peace process suffered a terrible blow in early November 1995 when an Israeli zealot assassinated Prime Minister Rabin because of his efforts to negotiate with the Palestinians. Some observers feared that the assassin had killed the peace process as well, when 7 months later the conservative hardliner Benjamin Netanyahu narrowly defeated the U.S.-backed Shimon Peres in the Israeli national elections. Yet, in October 1998, Clinton brought Arafat, Netanyahu, and King Hussein of Jordan together at a conference in Maryland, where they reached an agreement. And under the Wye River Accords, Israel again agreed to surrender land in return for security guarantees by the Palestinians. And this is an ongoing process still in the 21st century. The Balkans are another major area of concern. By 1991, Yugoslavia had disintegrated into an ethnic warfare as 4 of its multi-ethnic republics declared their independence. Serb minorities, backed by the new Republic of Serbia, stirred up civil wars in neighboring Croatia and Bosnia. And this led to United States and North Atlantic Treaty Organization intervention in the Balkans. In 1995, U.S. negotiators finally persuaded the foreign ministers of Croatia, Bosnia, and Yugoslavia, which will disintegrate further when Montenegro declares its independence, to agree to a comprehensive peace plan. Bosnia would remain a single nation divided into 2 states, a Muslim Croat Federation controlling 51% of the territory, and a Bosnian Serb Republic controlling the remaining 49%. Elections would appoint a parliament and a joint president. And to enforce the agreement, this now reaffirmed the need for NATO. There was some question after the end of the Cold War, what would be its function with the Soviet threat now gone? Well, now it's been doing peacekeeping in the Balkans for many years, and 60,000 troops were sent to Bosnia. And in 1998, the Balkan tinderbox flared up again, this time in the Yugoslav province of Kosovo at the bottom of Serbia. This was considered sacred ground by Christian Serbs, although 90% of the 2 million Kosovars were in fact Albanian Muslims. And in 1998, the Yugoslav president Slobodan Milosevic began a program of ethnic cleansing, whereby Yugoslav troops burned Albanian villages, murdered men, raped women, and displaced hundreds of thousands of Muslim Kosovars. And this was a systematic removal of an ethnic group from a territory in order to create a homogeneous society, similar to what the Nazis were doing in World War II. And this was popularized by the Yugoslav policy of brutally targeting Albanian Muslims in Kosovo. And in March 1999, NATO, relying heavily upon United States military resources and leadership, they launched airstrikes against Yugoslavian military targets in Serbia. And ending this tragedy is a moral imperative, explained President Clinton. After 72 days of bombardment, Milosevic sued for peace on NATO's terms, in part because his Russian allies had finally abandoned him. And an agreement was reached on June 3, 1999. And President Clinton pledged extensive U.S. aid in helping the Yugoslavs rebuild their war-torn economy. And finally, the scandal machine erupts again. And during his first term, the president had faced old charges revolving around investments that he and Hillary had made in Whitewater, a planned resort development in Arkansas. It turned out to be a fraud and a failure, and people accused the Clintons of conspiring with the developer. And in 1994, Kenneth Starr, a former judge and conservative Republican, was appointed as an independent counsel to investigate the Whitewater case. Starr found no evidence that the Clintons were directly involved in the Whitewater fraud, but in the course of another investigation, he happened upon evidence of a White House sex scandal. Between 1995 and 1997, Clinton had a 16-month-long sexual affair with an unpaid 22-year-old White House intern, Monica Lewinsky. And he had been accused of this while governor of Arkansas and while campaigning as well. He later called it succumbing to his old demons. Even more disturbing, he had pressed her to lie about their relationship, even under oath. Clinton initially denied the charges, telling the nation in late January 1998, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky." And for the next 13 months, the media circus surrounding Monica Gate, or Zippergate affair, captured the nation's attention, just like Watergate, another daily soap opera. In late August, however, the bottom fell out of Clinton's denials when Lewinsky provided a federal grand jury with a detailed account of her relationship with the president. She also provided the dress that was stained with bodily fluids. This led to the impeachment of President Clinton. Based on the Starr report, now the Republican-dominated House of Representatives on October the 8th began a wide-ranging impeachment inquiry of the president's behavior. And on December 19, 1998, the House of Representatives impeached William Jefferson Clinton, charging him with lying under oath to a federal grand jury and of obstructing justice. And the Senate impeachment trial began on January 7, 1999, but 5 weeks later, on February the 12th, they acquitted Clinton largely on a party line vote. Americans were pretty tired of this after this point, and Clinton served out the remainder of his term. Unfortunately, the scandal really tarnished the Clinton administration that had done many good things in the 1990s.